Now, with 48 hours to the expiration of the deadline for owners of SIM cards to have them registered or forfeit their usage, there are concerns over whether the state can deny the owners access for failure to register the card when it is not their fault that they could not register those cards. According to official data from the National Identification Authority, NIA, there are 16,984,015 people who have registered for the Ghana cards, with some 16,534,862 of those cards printed. This means there are some 362,362 yet to be printed. Some people are arguing that since some registered people have not had the access to their cards, they cannot be blamed for not being able to register their SIMs when the Ghana card is the only proof of identity in registering one's SIM card. So how is the authority collaborating with telcos to deal with this matter as we inch closer to the deadline for people to register their SIM cards? We have been joined on Zoom by Dr. Abdul Ganiyu, Head Corporate Affairs at the National Identification Authority, with some answers. Doc, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, out of the printed cards, how many have been distributed?
Yes, so out of the printed cards, we have issued over 15 million cards. And those 15 million cards are out of the total cards that have been printed, and that is also out of the total number of Ghanaians who have enrolled. So as you rightly indicated, the total number of Ghanaians enrolled is around 16.9 million, just a few figures shy of 17 million are persons we have enrolled so far. And out of that, we have printed about 16,500,000 cards and have also issued 15 million plus cards. So that's basically where we are. I can send you the more accurate values or accurate figures when we are done with this interview.
Now, what is accounting for the ones that we've not been able to print out?
Yes, cards that have not been printed out is expected, because across the 292 offices that we have across Ghana, you are certainly going to have challenges to do with internet connectivity in some of our districts. There could be some other technical or operational challenges accounting for our inability to print certain cards. But our system has been designed in such a way that if cards are not printing instantly, then they should be printing through what we call the deferred printing mode. So as I've always indicated, Ghana card registration doesn't have a deadline. So it is very much possible that people will go to our office, get registered, and you'll be told that come for 2 days, 3 days, or even after a week for your cards to be printed and issued to you. So that's very much normal. So as far as the technical and operational design is concerned.
Okay, so you made it clear that around 1 million of the cards that have been printed have not been given out to the owners. Now, what happens to these people who have not had access to their cards, even though they've been printed?
Yes, for persons who have not yet gotten their cards, to some extent, you can attribute it to two reasons. One could be that the cards have been printed all right, but the cards are badged, boxed, and kept safely in our regional and district offices. So all that must happen is for people to go to these places that they registered for the cards to be issued to them. You know, and we've had quite a challenge right after the mass registration, where some cards that were not printed were in backlog and have since been printed and taken to the regional and district offices. But as we speak, some people have not yet gone for these cards. It is possible that where they registered during the mass registration, they are now resident, perhaps in a different town, in a different village, or in a different region. and going back to where they registered for these cards to be issued to them has become a challenge. So if you visit our regional and district offices, you'll find quite a lot of cards that have been printed just waiting for applicants to come for these cards to be issued to them. And as I indicated earlier, it could also be that having registered, there is still some technical problem or some issue to do with data inconsistency that requires us to do adjudication at the back end before this data can be released for printing. So these are the two reasons that may account for people who have registered but have not yet had their cards issued to them.
I'm sure you're also aware of the kind of challenges people go through at your various registration centers. Now, after about 48 hours, these people would have to forfeit their SIM card. Any special arrangements you've had with the telcos to ensure that these people are exempted from the cutoff which is expected after the expiry of the deadline?
Yes, any kind of special arrangements can come from the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization. That is the very apex of policy that is driving this whole SIM card re-registration process. So yes, we have made the data known. The data is available. We have quite a lot of people who have registered, but their cards have not been printed and issued to them. And we have indicated time and again that our system was not designed to get every Ghanaian registered at a certain time T. That is not possible. The National Identification Authority is like any other state institution, established, it has come to stay, and on a regular, on a daily basis, we are going to be registering Ghanaians. So there's never going to be a point that we can say this is the deadline for the registration of the Ghana card. But other institutions that are relying on the database to render services to Ghanaians may announce their own deadline. So whatever modalities they put in place to ensure that people put themselves in readiness to receive services based on the Ghana card, that is something that in this instance, the ministry must be speaking to, the National Communication Authority must be speaking to. Anything about SIM card, the extension of deadlines, I think it's these institutions that have to deal with it as far as that particular mandate is concerned.
Doc, I'm grateful for your time, but kindly hold the line for me as I bring this one in, because last minute struggle by thousands of Ghanaians to register their SIM cards. Many left stranded and frustrated at various registration centers. In this piece, we tell you the story of Alhaji Seidu Al-Hassan, who has traveled all the way from the Upper East region to retrieve his Ghana card with the hope of registering his SIM card before the deadline expires. Michael Ashley was at the Elwak Sports Stadium and our reports.
I've been chasing my Ghana card since the registration, the beginning of the registration, that was in 2018. And this is about my 9th time chasing it.
This is Alhaji Seidu Al-Hassan. 3 years ago, he registered for the national ID and is yet to receive it. He has traveled all the way from the Upper East region to the Elwak Sports Stadium to try and retrieve it as the deadline for SIM re-registration approaches.
And yesterday when I arrived, in fact I was tired, so I have to find out where I could get my card because the deadline had approached. And I was asked to go to Pantang. They collected my form and then told me I should come to Elwak yesterday. And I was here almost for 5 o'clock, only to be told that I should go and come this morning. And when I came this morning, 6 o'clock, the place was already full. And we have to sit in the queue, sift until reach my end, only to be told again that I should come 27th of this month. I think there is something wrong. They are hiding something from some of us. And the high time they tell us, the better. Highly frustrated, because I was told at the headquarters I shouldn't come again, and that they will call me. No, they will never call me. Only for me to be at the Upper East region. I was working. When I got to know that the time had run out, so I have to rush in yesterday, only to be told this morning again that I should come 27. Why? What is happening? I think there is some selective justice somewhere in this country.
The timeline for the SIM re-registration has been reviewed at least 3 times, but Alhaji Saidu and thousands of other people are yet to go through the process. As the deadline approaches, registration centers are swelling up with numbers.
I reached at 6 o'clock, and up to now, I'm still in the second process, not even to the third one before the fourth one. I don't understand the reason why I have to stay in all this queue. Oh, forget about registering a SIM card. Because I've not gotten the Ghana card, how can I register it?
So I have to crawl from Odan to this side. I've been in bed almost 2 years, but because of this, I shall have to put me in the truck, drop me out somewhere there. I tried before I reach this side. It's really God knows.
This has become simply irritating for many.
So last month I was asked to go to Shashi for validation. So I went there and it was like I should come to Elwak for checking of my card. So I came here on Monday, and then I met a guy over there and he asked me, he told me I wasn't having any faults with my card. So I went back to MT and he asked me to come back to Elwak because I have fault with my card. It's very, very annoying because from Tema all the way since 2 weeks now. And even the TNT require is even high for me. Because if I can register with my SIM card, then there's no use of the card for me.
For many of the registrants, the Communications Ministry must consider another extension to the deadline while decentralizing the process. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
So that's Michael Ashale there with that report. Dr. Abdul Ghani, you stay with us on the line. Doc, grateful that you could still hold on for us. What's your reaction to what you've just seen?
Yeah, so basically, the people you find at the Elwak Sports Stadium are persons who have lost their cards. So these are people who were first issued with a card, but for some reason they have misplaced it, they've lost it, or the card is damaged, has lost its functionality. So those people go to the Elwak Sports Stadium with a police extract for a card to be reissued. Is that okay? So that's what happens. So these are not new applicants or registrants who do not have their Ghana cards. These are persons who were first issued with their cards, but they've lost their cards and they've gone to the Elwak Sports Stadium for replacement. So far, we have 16 replacement centers across the country. All the 16 regional capitals are able to replace lost cards, and that is ongoing across all the 16 regions. But also at Elwak Sports Stadium, you have people who go to update their records. So someone's name has changed, the person has gone to do an affidavit and a gazette, then the person goes to the Elwak Sports Stadium for the change to be done or the updating to be done for him or her. Unfortunately, the 16 regional capitals are not doing updating of personal records at the moment. So updating is only done in Accra at the Elwak Sports Stadium. So that's why, unfortunately, you find the old man talk about coming all the way from the Upper East region to have, his updates done at the Elwak Sports Stadium. But I can assure you that just today, we have concluded training of some of our staff, just so that they will be able to conduct updating of personal records in the regions and in the districts. So hopefully we are going to run that on a pilot basis in Accra and then in the 16 regional capitals. Then we can introduce that at all the districts in Ghana. So that will come somewhere next week and the next 2 weeks. We should be able to do update services across Ghana as well. And we will then be able to introduce replacement services to the district offices. So if you now have 292 officers of NIA across Ghana doing card replacements and doing updating of personal records, then the pressure that you find at the Elwak Sports Stadium will certainly ease.
Doc, I'm grateful for your time here on our news. Dr. Abdul Ghani is Head of Corporate Affairs at the National Identification Authority. Now, let's still stay with Ghana Card because residents in the Ashanti region are calling for the creation of more Ghana Card replacement centers and the extension of SIM registration. Now, some residents in the Ashanti region are imploring the National Identification Authority to create more Ghana Card replacement centers at district levels across the country. The frustrated citizens who endured hours of queuing up at the Edum regional branch of the NIA to have their cards replaced are worried the situation is affecting their daily activities. They are also calling for an extension of the deadline for the SIM card registration exercise to at least December this year. Love FM's Emmanuel Bright Kweku has been monitoring the situation in the Ashanti region and our reports.
You may describe it as registration rush hour. Scores of people massing up at various telecommunication network provider offices to have their biodata linked to their SIM cards before the deadline. At the Susanso MTN branch, scores of subscribers, including the aged, wait their turn to register their SIM cards. But the frustration of waiting for several hours at the center due to jammed network hits hard on customers. I came here a week ago, but there were a lot of people, so I left because the network was slow. I came here before 8 a.m. People were being served, but it's not like now. The network, we are told, is jammed again. Some have concerns over SIM cards that will be blocked after the deadline. Teria is worried her father, who is bedridden, may lose contact to his relatives.
Nipan used to chip for so many years.
My dad is bedridden and has used his SIM card for the past 20 years. I've been asked to swear affidavit before I can get his card.
A major requirement for the SIM card re-registration is the Ghana card as spelled out by the Ministry of Communications. However, it appears a number of residents in the Ashanti region may have their SIM cards blocked by the end of the deadline, as many of them have been scheduled to come later during the day or later during the week to have their cards ready by then.
At the Edum regional branch of the National Identification Authority, many frustrated citizens are seen struggling to have their concerns addressed by the officials of the authority. Many of the persons who have queued up at the forecourt of the center have come to have either their cards replaced or received their card for the first time after years of pursuing it. But after several visits to the center, many have since not had their issues resolved.
Register SIM.
They told me my card is invalid and asked me to come to the NIA to correct it, but it has since not been done.
The way because on for replacement.
The situation is hectic. They have to provide an easier means.
Because we our old forms no. Then so way the entisa just almost started all over and unti stress not doors.
Some say their inability to link a Ghana card to their account has denied them access to their monies at the bank. They say they are opting to save their monies at home.
If this is not working, the bank wants me to use this, and I come here and I have all this wahala, I won't go to the bank. I'll put my money under my bed. Because when I send my money to the bank, they will do this. So 90% of the people who put their money under their bed.
The frustrated citizens are, however, proposing the creation of more Ghana card replacement centers to relieve them of the stress they have to endure.
I wish the registration was done at our district levels.
They should open more branches within the Ashanti region. Or people from Obuasi, Bekwai, all over the place are coming here to register. I can't imagine this. At the initial stage, you open branches at various places. I did my own at St. Louis Training College. And just the case, through no fault of mine, you told me that my card is inactive. It cannot be used. And you asked me to go and pay 30 cedis at the bank. I went to the bank and went and queue, spent my whole day, productive day at the bank, paid and came back here 4 times. 4 productive days without having the card. I've come to pay after everything. They will tell me to come back and go and come back in about a month or 2 months' time for the card. And you're telling me you're going to block my card tomorrow? I mean, it's absurd.
For Joy News, Emmanuel Bright Kweku reporting.
Joy News